Okay, we are back right now, like I said. And the mirepoix has all been browned. I have all the mirepoix, celery, carrots, and onions, and the garlic bulbs that I cut in half. I sprayed them with a little bit of oil, and I toasted them just a little bit too. That's an option. You don't have to toast the garlic. And now, the important thing to remember is that during the cooking process, the removal of all of the insoluble particles that rise to the surface of the stock in the form of both fat and scum, as it's called, need to be removed throughout the cooking process with ladle. So because we know that we have fat that we cooked all the vegetables in, we're going to drain the vegetables before we even put them in the pot. Otherwise, we'll just have to skim the fat off. Because the value of the marrow has been maximized already by us in the cooking of the vegetables. So we're going to drain all of the vegetables into this pan here. And then after we get the vegetables drained, we will put the tomato paste and the garlic into the pot, and we will top the pot off with water. The garlic, of course, here does not need to be drained, so I'm just going to put it directly into the pots because it really wasn't cooking in oil per se. Okay. And the onions. And finally, the balance of the carrots. So there you have a nicely cooked mirepoix. It has some brown qualities, but particularly, excuse me, cooked quality. All right. So we'll take our mirepoix that's fairly well drained, and we will divide it up among these two pots with that garlic that's already in there. I think that's light enough for me to lift up now effectively. Okay. See, look at all that fat that we saved from putting inside of our pot. Okay. Now, we will add the tomato paste. Now, some cooks will tell you that the tomato paste should be spread over the bones during the cooking process. That is certainly an option and not a requirement. There's 3 or 4 small differences that can be used as the influence by the cook to make the stock. That would be one of them. I elect not to do that and add the tomato paste directly to it because I don't think it enhances the tomato paste to spread it over the bones. In effect, it covers the bones, and certain parts of the bones can't brown because they have tomato paste on them. And the browning of the tomato paste itself is just about inconclusive in terms of the final effects. So, we'll put the tomato paste in, which is the amount consistent with the recipe that you have in the index for the brown stock. And we are going to cook these 2 pots for 2 days. And we are going to come back in 2 days, and that's also going to be in a now type thing. I'm going to top this off with the water. Don't top it off completely, of course. Now, I'd like to emphasize something to you about the proportion of bones in the pot. The bones need to have enough room in the pot to, so to speak, microscopically move about during the cooking process. You don't want so many bones on top of the other bones that they're pressed against the bottom of the pot and they're unmovable during the cooking process. They need to move gently as the small amount of turbulence that's created in the pot forces them to move. But if they're weighted down, then they cannot do that. And bones pressed against the bottom of the pot can burn much more easily too. So that's why you don't want to have too much. These pots are filled halfway with bones. And for these size pots, that's the right size. Originally, earlier in this video, I had this pot and another one slightly smaller. But as I put the bones in the pot, I thought the other pot was too small, so I included a second large pot for the very reason that I just told you. So we'll be back in a few minutes after this comes to a simmer. And one of the things you should keep in mind is that when you're bringing the pots up to the simmer, you bring them up slowly. And you will remove the scum and fat as it comes up. And we will do that, and then I will demonstrate how that's done when it comes to a simmer. So I can show you a close-up of the level of simmering and the bubble activity and turbulence that should be in the pot throughout the entire cooking process. Okay, we got all the mirepoix and all the bones into the pots with all the cold water. And we slowly brought the temperature of the pots up to the point at which it's simmering right now. And I have next to the pots the officially named scum pot, if you will, which is the name in which these pots are given because you use them to put the scum in that you remove with the ladle or the fat. Okay, so I'm removing some of the fat with the ladle, and you just make sure that all the fat is generally off of most of the pots throughout the entire cooking time. A couple things to remember here now. The temperature at which it cooks, it should never boil. Boiling the stock will make it cloudy, and it will cause so much turbulence in the water that it will cause the scum and the fat to be regenerated and recycled back into the stock. And ultimately your stock will taste, or your sauce when you're finished, will taste like fat or scum, if you will. So it's always just barely simmered, and we're going to bring the camera right in close, tight in a minute here to show you a level that the water should be moving with what we would call simmering of the stock. That's one thing to remember, the speed at which it's cooked. It's cooked slowly, okay? Second thing to remember is that the only thing that ever leaves the stock pot throughout the cooking process is water. So one continues to top off the pots with water throughout the cooking process to maintain the level of the water so that the turbulence is constant and consistent throughout the entire time the stock is cooking. Those would be two very, very important things. And we're going to bring you over here now and show you the level at which it should be taking place. So come on over here with that camera. Okay. Now, the removal of the fat and the scum, one should always be cognizant of the fact that you want to leave the stock behind and don't take stock. So you're just taking the fat off the top. If you have to leave a little bit on from time to time so that you don't end up taking stock and fat off at the same time, leave a little bit on so that it'll accumulate enough so you're just removing the fat, okay? Now you see the level at which that's simmering. It shouldn't be simmering beyond that level there, okay? And the same with this little pot over here. Some of that fat off too. And you'll notice this one is cooking at the same rate. Nice and gently. And that's the speed at which the pot should be cooking the entire time. All right. We're going to let 2 days elapse now. And we're going to come back here in 48 hours. And we're going to see what this stock looks like. And then we are going to proceed to take the stock from the pot, and then we are going to make 2 things from it. We're going to make the brown sauce, or what's traditionally known in French cooking as Espagnole sauce. We will make what we consider to be the modern version of this, and we will also make glace de viande, or what's also called in English concentrated beef stock. And those 2 things I'll have for you in 2 days of these pots cooking, and you will see a big difference in the way this stock looks. Right now, you look at the stock, and what you see is a little tomato watery looking stuff. You see? In 2 days, when we go back in here with this ladle, which is the next scene you're going to see that this is going to be deep, dark brown, and it's not going to have that tomatoey look to it at all. Okay?